All right, y'all good people, what's going on? Put a one in the chat if y'all can hear me clearly. Hold on one second here. All right, there we go. So we got a little bit of a change up on the stream tonight. This is the Monday Night Raw, right? So we're going from Monday Night Live to Monday Night Raw, right? Yeah, we got some ones coming in. All right, I'm gonna be doing some more kitchen streams in here. That's right. Cali girl, what's going on? Good to see you in here. That's right. Drop kick that like button. Big shout out to you out there in Panama. That's right. Like button has been drop kicked. There we go. Appreciate you tuning into the stream tonight. Glad you can make it. We got some ones popping in the stream here. There we go. Like button slam. There we go. I'm gonna be taking some of y'all questions. It's gonna be a pretty chill night. I'm be cutting up some fruit and talking about my grocery haul, right? Um, as a person who is a big fan of a fruit-based diet, this is actually more my thing. I actually got fairly lucky recently, right? We'll see how this batch turns out. Um, but I've been able to get some really good melons. I got some really big honeydew. Got some nice cantaloupes. So I got one, two, three, four cantaloupes, and then one, two, three, four honeydew. Um, I still got to get more bananas. I got to get a few more pounds of bananas. I get about like 12 pounds of bananas at a time. Um, if I'm doing full fruit throughout the day, I get about I eat around like 32 ounces or 2 pounds of bananas, right? I've been able to get some grapes. I actually been having the grapes soaking, and I got some blueberries and tangerines. I got a bunch of stuff, right? Obviously, all of this cannot fit in the fridge, but that's fine because we don't put this stuff in the fridge anyway. But I got some nice, deep, dark grapes. These are some good grapes, too. Look at these grapes. I wish I can get a little closer to the camera there, but it's a little further away. So I have these. I got my grapes soaking in water with vinegar and baking soda. So that's how I do that. And I rinse them off and let them drip dry. So I got to do some prep here. All right. So let me set this up. So this is like little tray here. I let it drip dry. I rinse it out. I got to set up some type of alternative camera to get like a little bit of a zoom in, right? But that's, I'm not that fancy yet. You got to give me, these are actually big. I'm gonna have to let these. All right. I don't know how much I want to putz around with this, but I want to get this stuff. So yeah, I got a few pounds of the grapes here. Just rinsing those off right quick. Some nice cold water. And I got blueberries soaking also. So yeah, basically, just to give you a perspective, right? And it's going to vary from person to person, right? I eat pretty significant amounts at a time. So for example, this in here, this is about 4 pounds of grapes in here. So this 4 pounds of grapes will actually last me like 3 or 4 days or something, depending on how much grapes I end up eating. Right? So it really depends. But if I'm trying to get like the necessary energy for recovery and muscle building and whatnot, I'm probably going to eat like a pound at a time. So like 1 pound of grapes will give me like around 100 grams of carbs. Generally speaking, I try to get at least 300 grams of carbs in a day, right? So that's going to be between the bananas, the grapes, the cantaloupe, things like that, right? Where I'm going to be getting a lot of that. But yeah, this is beautiful for me, right? So I'm in a pretty good mood because of everything I've gotten here today. Obviously, everything's going to run out a lot quicker if you are eating on a daily basis, which me, I'm a big fan of alternate day fasting. I don't think we actually need to eat on a daily basis, or at least most of us don't, right? Sometimes, well, a lot of times it's warranted depending on what you're doing. And I'll get into a little bit of my methodology as far as that's concerned. So I'm gonna have to let that sit. All right. So I'm gonna let those drip dry for a little bit. I'm probably not gonna leave that on the edge there. Now I'm gonna cut up some cantaloupe. So yeah, basically, when I pick foods, I try to get like all the colors, right? So the colors is going to be violet, red, orange, yellow, green. So when I get fruits, I try to get all the colors. So for example, this is like orange, right? And the orange is really important for the beta carotene. This is more yellow. This is a grapefruit. So I got several grapefruit here. I got different type of grapefruit here that's more orange. Red apples, green pears, honeydew. That's more of like a green fruit as well. By the way, take a look at this. Hold on. All right. This is the honeydew that I've been getting here. This thing is actually going to take a while to ripen up. So this may be ripen, I don't know, it may be ripen a week, maybe longer, it depends. But I'm not refrigerating anything. I'll be leaving this stuff out. And then the cantaloupes, this is like around 2 pounds or so of cantaloupe after cutting it, right? So when I cut and everything and I bag up the cantaloupe and stuff like that. So yeah. And then I got these little tangerines here. So you can see I got a lot of orange. And then I've got kiwis. And these are actually yellow kiwis. And then I've got avocado, green, bananas, yellow, right? And then violet is going to be the grapes and the blueberries. And then I also have red bell pepper for some more red, right? I need some more red. Usually, when it comes to getting red, it's either for me going to be red apples, grapes, or red bell pepper, right? So I get all the colors. For the fat soluble vitamins like A, E, and K, vitamin A more so comes from like your beta carotene. So that's going to come from your green leafy vegetables. And that's going to come from your orange and yellow pigmented fruits. And then pineapple, that's a more yellow. Yellow in particular is really good actually for hormonal balance, brain health, and gut health, right? It's a bit of a mixed bag, right? But a lot of the yellow and orange fruits are really good, particularly for digestive health. So, for example, papaya, it's like that deep orange. That's really good for gut health, killing parasites, harmful bacteria, things like that. Pineapple, again, gut health, really good for killing parasites, harmful bacteria, and also increasing digestive enzymes, right? Because the bromelain inside the pineapples, right? Your reds and your greens are really good for like detoxification. So that has good implications for liver and kidneys, mainly kidneys, right? The apples, the pears, really rich sources of malic acid and quercetin, right? And that's really good for protecting and revitalizing organ tissues and vascular tissues, things like this, right? So yeah, that's the basics of how I think about that. And then all of these foods combined together are very vitamin C rich. So like a raw kind of fruit-based diet is actually really good, especially for people who are trying to lose a lot of weight. because vitamin C is one of the key components needed for collagen production. So when you significantly increase dietary vitamin C, you get way more collagen production. So this makes your skin amazing. And if you're losing a lot of weight, you're losing weight really quickly, it can help your skin snap back. So if you have issues with loose skin and things like that, getting a diet where you're getting like upwards of 500 to even like upwards of 1,000% of your vitamin C per day is a really good strategy. It's a way to go, right? Very B vitamin rich, especially the bananas, mangoes, papaya, cantaloupe, bananas, very energy rich. Not only just for gut health, but also like really energy rich in particular. The beta carotene is really important for vital organ protection, liver health, and hormonal balance, right? So testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, adrenal function, your beta carotene is really important for that. As well as having a smooth and even skin pigmentation. The beta carotene is really good for that as well. Pigmentation in general, so preserving the pigmentation of your eyes, okay, your hair, skin, nails, all of that. So that beta carotene, getting that rich beta carotene, it'll give you a deeper, richer pigmentation in your hair, skin, nails, eyes, all of that. It's also really important for eye health, right? Just to name a few. Vascular health, kidney health, etc. Really important. So the beta carotene. Vitamin E is something you get a lot from kiwis. So kiwis, blueberries, raspberries, what else? Avocado, but you actually get a lot of your vitamin E from nuts and seeds. So flax seeds, chia seeds, pumpkin seed kernels, sunflower seed kernels in particular. My top two is actually sunflower seed kernels and almonds for vitamin E. Vitamin E is really important for estrogen and testosterone production, right? So again, vitamin E, hormonal balance. Vitamin K, you actually get a lot from the blueberries and the grapes. Basically, anything that is like a deep red or purple pigmentation, closer to purple, is very rich in vitamin K, specifically K1 that converts into K2 inside your gut. So, green leafy vegetables, particularly your tender leafy green vegetables, so your kale, spinach, arugula, red butter lettuce, things like this, your tender leafy greens, very rich source of vitamin K, big time, right? If you're looking for something with a more mild flavor because the bitters is a bit too much for you, romaine lettuce is a sure shot. However, there's been a lot of dicey stuff going on with the food system lately, a lot of recalls going on, mainly of processed foods. But there have been some whole plant-based foods that have also been contaminated. And I know I don't remember when, but I think romaine lettuce had some issues and had to be pulled off the shelves. So I don't. So yeah, definitely check for updates on that. I personally, I don't eat like a ton of leafy green vegetables. I eat like around 5 or 7 ounces a day or something like that. Right? Not a whole lot. So basically a salad, but like 4 ounces or whatever is plenty enough. Right? So your vitamin K, you're going to get a lot of your vitamin K from the grapes and blueberries. Grapes, blueberries, and blackberries, really good sources of vitamin K, right? Anything with the violet pigmentation. I'm actually going to be getting a juicer here soon too, so I'll be juicing some things as well. So I'm really looking forward to getting back into juicing beets. All right, so I'm gonna be doing that as well. Um, so yeah, juicing in the morning is one of the best things that you can do, right? And I'm going to talk about meal structure a little bit later as well. And like natural lifestyle habits versus like what we do now is a bit different, right? Um, but that's a little bit later. I don't want to get too carried away. But let me get into this cantaloupe. This cantaloupe got some soft spots, so we'll see how it looks on the inside. And let me see here. Oh, actually, hold on, because I can do. All right, give me a second. Hold on. So rather than going back and forth to the laptop, I can actually see your comments here. My fave Monday guy. I appreciate that. That's right. Share the stream. Looks radiant. What's your views on frozen fruits? I don't really do frozen fruits much, honestly. Is there a nutritional penalty to pay? No, I think that freezing fruit actually keeps the nutritional value pretty well, actually, right? So you actually keep nutrient loss from frozen fruits. I'm just personally, me personally, I don't like eating cold fruit, to be honest. And for a while, I've been like keeping fruit stored in the fridge, but I did that as like as a result of summertime and trying to keep gnats away. Which, I mean, if you're gonna have this much fruit in the house, it's not really that possible. So that's why we have like these little lights that act as like little flea traps, little gnat traps. So yeah, there's that. All right, let me get a spoon. So I'm gonna dig out the seeds right quick. But yeah, so sometimes I can't always go fruit based, so I do have backup foods, right? So I don't really adhere to like a fully raw fruitarian diet. I don't swear off foods that are beneficial. So for example, I would rather get my vitamin A and whatnot from cantaloupe, right? Or mangoes or papaya or things like that. But if I have to get sweet potato, I'll go out and get sweet potato, right? I don't particularly like to cook much. I like to keep it real simple. So if I can avoid cooking, I'll do so. But I don't mind cooking some stuff. I'll talk more about recipe stuff too that I do. And if y'all want me to, I can cook on stream. The only thing is the kitchen, the stove is behind me. So if I have to cook something on the stove, y'all not really going to be able to see that unless I get some type of portable camera that I can show you what I'm doing. But a minimalist person like me, I don't know what that's about. I'm going to have to figure that out on my downtime when I get a chance. Yo, Leonard, by the way, Leonard, if you're in the chat, you inspired me to put some jazz on tonight. My man Leonard is a jazz singer. Big shout out to Leonard. Oh, hold on. So I have some basic guidelines. By the way, I'm going to show y'all too. Some of y'all have seen me whip this out before, but a food scale. So I'm going to cut up this cantaloupe and I'm going to weigh it on the food scale. So basically, this here, I cut this into sections of 4. And once I cut this, I then put it in the fridge. I don't leave it out at room temperature if it's been cut, because it's got that extra oxygen exposure that leads to degradation, right? That oxidation. So once I cut it, then yeah, I'll put it in the fridge. But if it's not cut and the husk is intact, the rind is intact, then I will leave it out at room temperature. But yeah, I don't really like eating cold fruit. And don't cut fruit like how I'm doing. Okay, this is not as smart because you run the risk of cutting your hand. I've been cutting fruit like this or for a really long period of time, and I don't really cut my hand. I don't know why I don't cut my hand, but apparently I got some kind of special fruit cutting skill that keeps me from cutting my hand. You know, some people, they just got like these little weird skills with a knife. And mine just so happens to be able to, it's just about cutting fruit without cutting my hand. You know what's interesting is the only time I've come close to cutting my hand is cutting a fingernail. That's really the only time it's happened. Yeah, that's a little bit of a mushy part. So yeah, cutting a fingernail, that's happened. but not actually cutting my skin. So I don't know, I got like some good proprioception or something like that. So I don't cut my I think also like my skin is a bit thick in my hands from I guess extensive years of weightlifting and martial arts practice of really conditioning my hands. So it comes with some perks. Got like electrician fingers. We got any electricians in the chat? So yeah, basically most of my carbs, like for example, when I eat tomorrow, all of my carbs essentially are going to come from fruit. And then, you know, if I do eat fully raw, my fats will be a bit higher. So like I'll eat carbs and fruits and whatnot all day, and then as the sun starts to set, I'll pivot to more leafy greens and like nuts and seeds and stuff like that for fats, right? I don't really like to do that very often though, because well, I don't like to be too strict about it because I lose weight real quick, and I just generally don't. And I guess it's not a bad thing because I get leaner, but I have hangups about losing a lot of weight. That's like a personal childhood issue. So like the idea of getting leaner sounds nice, but for some reason I want to slow walk the process. That's just for me personally. If I'm trying to get like really lean though pretty quickly, then I'll do that. Like if I have to like get conditioned for a bodybuilding show or something like that, and I got to lean out, yeah, I'll do that. But yeah, so fruits all day. And then when sun starts to set, that's when you get more into your nuts and seeds, avocado, things like that. I'm actually going to start working some avocado back into my diet. So like what I used to do, and one thing that got me lean pretty quickly, interestingly enough, is I would eat like a whole avocado with a spoon at night. Right? So I was doing like mono meal stuff. So I wouldn't like put an avocado in a meal necessarily. I would just sit there and just eat avocado with a spoon with a handful of nuts or whatever. And I would do that. And that actually worked really well. But yeah, this whole fruitarian thing, you know, what's interesting is the more fruit you eat, the leaner you get, the easier your weight loss is, actually. It's really interesting. Like I have diabetics and their blood sugar numbers actually improve the more fruit they eat. And it actually happens even quicker with fruit than it does with any other type of carbohydrate. So like you can improve your blood sugar numbers as a diabetic by eating like rice or potatoes or legumes, things like that. These starchy foods. But you get the best numbers when you do it with fruit. It's very interesting. And then if you're going to eat your dietary fats and whatnot, typically you want to keep them. You want to have your dietary fats at night before you go to bed rather than during the day. Right? So you prioritize all your carbohydrates first. And that works for a variety of reasons, right? I mean, we can speculate as to why, but if we get into the science of it as to why it works. So basically, when you consume fruits are very water rich and like they're essentially detox foods, right? So if you have like any type of kidney issues, liver issues, obesity issues, hormonal issues, you can pretty much reverse all of these things by increasing the amount of fruit in your diet, because fruit basically it helps to increase urine production, so you get increased urea output, so your body is able to release acid a lot more effectively. So your kidneys essentially are the release valve for excess acid that builds up in your blood, right? So like if you build up too much acid in your blood, you get things like acid reflux, you get gout, you get obesity, you get fatty liver disease, you get even more severe things like cirrhosis, you get adrenal issues, hormonal imbalances, you get weird skin issues, psoriasis, and all types of nastiness. You can get lupus flare-ups and all types of stuff, right? And a lot of that traces back to your kidneys. Actually, kidney disease is really, really common, especially with people who are insulin resistant, or have chronically elevated blood pressure. High blood pressure in and of itself is not going to mess up your kidneys, but it's a contributing factor. It's not going to do it on its own. It has to be paired with something, right? And so when you have more fruit in your diet, you're getting more water because fruit is the most water-rich food you could possibly eat. I don't think there is a food that is more water-rich than fruit. So, and then all the vitamin C that you get and all the water that you get, you also speed up gastric emptying. So you detox your colon. So you loosen up your bowels and your colon and everything like that. You clear out, you detoxify your colon as well as improve kidney output. And then you get more energy as a result too. So like when you eat more fruit, you get more energy because as you increase functionality and in the filtration rate of your kidneys, you get higher adrenal output. So you get more of a conversion of fat into like energy and things like that. And then, you get all of these carbohydrates, this easily accessible energy for your brain. And then you get increased mental sharpness, you get increased mental health, brain chemistry, all this type of stuff. Because essentially a big part of mental health is just brain chemistry. Anything that improves your brain chemistry will help to reverse things like anxiety, depression, and things like that. Right. And then also when you get more carbohydrates in your diet, especially like from the natural sugars in fruit, glucose is absolutely essential for the development of serotonin, the synthesis of serotonin in your brain. So serotonin is that pleasure hormone, right? You need that in order to feel good, in order to feel a sense of reward. And it's important to have healthy levels of dopamine sensitivity, right? Which is also important for brain chemistry. So there's all of these different perks. I mean, I'm a big fan of the fruits or just carbohydrate, whole food, plant-based carb sources in general, but in particular, fruits is a really special thing because it's very different than any other kind of food. Other foods are more dry. So dry foods can feel kind of dehydrating in your mouth. So like, for example, if you get like a meal, you sit down with a meal, rice, beans, potatoes, whatever, you have like a drink on the side. There's no reason to have a drink on the side with fruit, right? It's already a very water-rich food. So it's like it's this complete food. Even like when it comes to like muscle building, people are like, oh, how come like most raw vegans or fruitarians are like real skinny or whatever? And it's like, well, most people in general don't have much muscle mass on them. It's not just like a raw vegan thing. The only difference is raw vegans typically are not fat, right? So, if you lose a lot of your body fat percentage and you don't really train or work out and build the skeletal muscle underneath, you kind of just deflate. It's not really like a problem with a raw vegan thing. That's more of like you got to optimize your lifestyle and get more of that resistance training in there and get more of that resistance training in there to build that muscle underneath. Right? But I mean, muscle pretty much runs on sugar. Muscle, your nervous system, your brain, it all runs on sugar. So people are like sugar addicts. Like nobody's like a fat addict, right? Fat tastes gross to most people. Like if it's just fat without like salt or sugar, like just straight fat, like no one thinks oil tastes good, right? And even like avocado has an interesting kind of savory taste. I don't know if savory is the right word for it. But like avocado, no one's gonna binge eat avocado like, oh my God, it tastes so good. Like, not really, right? You eat an avocado and then you're good, right? It's not like a sugary fruit because human beings at large, I mean, do you need to eat carbs? Not necessarily, but there's just so much benefit. I mean, if your brain primarily runs on sugar and your muscles run on sugar, I mean, like even like if you wanted to be like an athlete, a power athlete, right? You wanted to maximize strength and power output. That is an anaerobic process, right? Lifting heavy weights, sprinting, things like this, high intensity exercise. These are anaerobic exercises. You can't run on fat during an anaerobic exercise, right? Because anaerobic means no oxygen or a lack of oxygen. So if there's a lack of oxygen, you can't really use fat for energy because you need a tremendous amount of oxygen in order to burn fat and convert it into energy, right? You need oxygen in order to oxidize and metabolize fat and convert it into usable energy. You don't have the oxygen to do it, you can't do it, right? Anaerobic processes, they run on sugar. Sugar is a fuel for anaerobic activities, right? So, like, if you wanted to improve strength, like explosiveness, training performance, salt and sugar actually power those processes the most. Salt, basically sodium, is sodium is an electrolyte, and the sugar is the primary food source, right? And you need the electrolytes in order to conduct energy. So this is my food scale. So for those of you who have written a diet plan for, I put everything in like ounces and grams and whatnot, right? Mainly ounces. So we take these bags of cantaloupe and we weigh them 36 ounces. So basically 2 pounds and 4 ounces. So when you get a cantaloupe and you cut a cantaloupe, it's going to be 32 ounces, roughly. 2 pounds, maybe a little over 2 pounds, but it's usually like 2 pounds or a little bit more than 2 pounds by like a few ounces. Not a crazy amount, but it does add up. So, like, let's say if you have a diet plan and you go, okay, I want to have like a carbohydrate goal of like 300 grams of carbs per day. How do I get there? Right? You can do that. So, for example, if you do 16 ounces of bananas, by the way, too, I'm going to say here is so with bananas, usually these are some pretty big bananas, but a banana usually is like 4 ounces. So 4, 8, 12, 16. So 4 bananas usually is about 16 ounces. So this is a little bit more than that. But what I do, if I want to weigh out bananas, I peel them and then weigh them. So I'll get a bowl. So I'll do this. And I'm not going to eat any bananas now, but if I give you, so I'll do this. Boom, put the scale down and then put the bowl down and then turn the scale on. So the scale, even with the bowl sitting on top, will be zeroed out. And then I'll peel the banana and put it on top. And I'll just do banana after banana until I get 16 ounces, right? And that's like my 100 grams of carbs, right? Or you can do, instead of 1 pound of bananas, you do 2 pounds of bananas, and this is like 200 grams of carbs. So let's say if you were to do 1 pound of bananas and 1 pound of grapes, that is like 200 grams of carbs. And then you can do some other mixed fruits. You can do some pineapple, you can do blueberries, you can do a variety of different types of fruits. And that will give you your other 300 grams of carbs, right? It just depends personally on how you set up your calories and macros and things like that. So I use Chronometer, and I'll like log foods and things like that. Let me catch up with y'all in the comments here. How do you get quality protein with only eating raw foods? Simply put, protein smoothies. Yeah, that's you don't need a lot of protein, but basically, like, let's say if I get all of my carbohydrates from fruit, I can get like around 30 something grams of protein from fruit. If I eat, let's say, 4 to 6 ounces of nuts, that's another like 20, 30 grams of protein on top of the previous 30. So that's 60. And if I add a protein shake, that's like 50 grams or so, then that's like another, was it? So you're getting up to 110 at that point, right? We said you don't hear no music. Did I mute it? No, it's playing. It's probably just real low. That's why. I don't want to turn the music up too loud. I don't want to OD with it. Yeah, so when you say quality protein, right? Like protein is protein, it's just amino acids. Now the interesting thing is that fruits contain like amino acids, and then your body takes those amino acids and then makes protein with them, right? The most of the protein that you consume is actually not used to build new cells. A lot of amino acids are used to create hormones, to create enzymes and things like that. Um, Skeletal muscle tissue is only made out of like three primary amino acids, right? Which is valine, leucine, and isoleucine, right? And then you have, like, for example, you have amino acids like arginine, right? Arginine doesn't necessarily build muscle, right? It's more of like a thing that's used to create enzymes and hormones. Um, and hormones essentially are just neurotransmitters. They're just like a chemical element that sends signals to your brain to do stuff, right? That's essentially what it is. I've lost so much weight starting the high raw fruitarian diet last year, but I have some loose skin now. Any advice to tighten up? Yeah, it depends. So, for example, like people tend to have loose skin issues when they lose weight really quickly, and they were like over 300 pounds. Like if you pass that 300-pound mark, for some people the mark is 270. The Of all the people who I've had who had like the loose skin issue, usually they pass 270. They at least hit 270 pounds. And then they drop down from 270 to like 160, 150 or something. They lost like 100 pounds. So if you lose like 100 pounds or something like that, and you were like 270 or 300 pounds, yeah, there's going to be some loose skin issues there. It'll snap back over time, but it takes a while to do. So you either have to be patient with the process or do some type of surgery to get rid of like excess skin. Do you do alternate day fasting during an all raw fruit? I don't like if I do like a fully raw, like really raw diet, I don't do alternate day fasting if I'm doing that. I only mainly do alternate day fasting if I want to have some like real wiggle room in my diet. My diet is starchy or it's more protein dense, these types of things. And I have more fats in my diet, like that kind of thing. Then I'll do alternate day fasting, right? Alternate day fasting typically is something I do in the winter. I don't really like doing it in the warmer seasons. I will sometimes, maybe, but it depends, right? I shouldn't be though. Alternate day fasting is more of a thing that you do in the colder seasons when there's supposed to be a shortage of food, right? But with a raw diet, the interesting thing about a raw diet, like a raw fruit based diet, is you can eat a lot more, actually. So, for example, you can have a diet that's higher in like starchy foods and fats, and your number won't really move on the scale, even though you're not eating that much. And then you can eat like a raw diet, and you could be eating on paper like 3,200 calories a day and still lose weight, right? And it's like I'm eating way more food on a raw diet, and I have all this energy, and I'm still losing weight. And the reason why is because weight loss is largely hormonal. So if you're not getting the hormonal green lights to lose the weight, no matter how little or how much you eat, right? It really depends on your hormonal balance, right? Um, it is kind of individualized, right? But in my experience, I know for me personally, when I eat like fully raw and it's just fruits, nuts and seeds, and leafy green vegetables, yeah, I'll lose weight really quickly. And so, for example, this week, what was this week? No, not this week, last week. Last week, every time or every day where I didn't have any starches, I lost like 2 or 3 pounds. So if I load up on like starchy foods, I would jump up like 4 or 5 pounds. And then if I have a raw day without the starchy foods afterwards, it'll drop down like 4 pounds or at least 2 pounds. And so the more fruit I eat, the quicker my weight drops. Right. So, like, for example, I reached like a top weight of like 157 last week. And then I have some fruit heavy days and I dropped down to like 151. I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Right. And I was like super ravenous too. Where I was just like super hungry, hungry, hungry. So I just kept eating, eating, eating. And I was just eating fruit. And I was just eating. I mean, I must have ate like 8 meals that day. And I ate way more, but I just didn't have the starches. And I even had like a raw kind of chocolate tiramisu cake, and I still dropped weight the next day. So it's very interesting how that works. Yep, he knows what he's talking about, and he got muscles. Get your fruit up, friend. True. Appreciate you. Are you buying groceries weekly? So basically, I don't buy all of my groceries in one shot. It depends. So I'll give you an example, right? So I accumulate foods. So here's my backup foods. If I get like starchy foods, here's my backup foods. So it's oats, red lentils, and then I do and then I have basmati rice. The dreaded rice, right? People have all types of smoke for rice. But yeah, rice is actually it's not a bad food. It's a really good food, honestly. Um, but it's dry, right? That's the only thing. And then kasha, and I get these things in bulk. So this bag I actually have to put. So if I get, where is it? Where's my oats? So I have a brand new 64-ounce mason jar that I got to fill up with this here. And I have my other mason jar. So like with the kasha, right? I was running low on it. So when this was low, I really like this too because I don't have to cook this. I just soak it in a mason jar with a sprouting lid and it comes down. So I'm not going to mix the old kasha with the new bag. I'm actually going to put the new bag in here and then I'll finish this off, right? So this is like what, like a quarter cup or something like that. And then once I empty this jar of kasha, I just wash it out. But I don't go and just empty new food into an older used jar, right? Because I'm icky about germs. And then my oats, I have another bag of oats and I have to fill that up. Right? So those are my backup foods. And then I got my nuts and seeds. I try to get stuff dry roasted. So I got almonds, sunflower seed kernels, and cashews, right? And I order the stuff I buy in bulk too. I usually order it online. So I got these sunflower seed kernels and I got like what is this, like a 3-pound bag or something like that? And then I put that in here. So yeah, I actually eat a lot of nuts and seeds on a raw diet, but it's towards the end of the day. And then my magic, my secret weapon. Where is it? I put everything in mason jars. So yeah, hemp seeds. This right here is a dietary staple for me. So I get like 5-pound bags of hemp seeds. Omega-3 essential fatty acids, protein, very rich in zinc, magnesium, manganese, copper. Absolutely phenomenal nutrients profile. So I'm a huge fan of that stuff. And then I got my herbs and things like that. Right. So I make teas. So it's basically nuts, fruits, some leafy green vegetables, and then like herbs and whatnot for teas. And then these grapes, I'm gonna transfer those into a new bag. I'm gonna catch up with your comments in a minute. But yeah, so basically, if you're a person who's limited on time, it's one of the best things that you could do is just have like a raw diet like this. I don't make a whole lot of like really raw diets though for people, unless they explicitly ask for it or they really need it. Because people are like, oh, what do I do for warm food? I'm like, you can drink some warm tea, or have some room temperature fruits, right? But see, some people like savory. So if you like savory, then you can do the fruits all day, and then you can have like your red lentils and potato and rice and whatever at night. So you can do that, and that works too. I'm not too worried about moisture being trapped in this bag. Yeah, that's not gonna fit in here because this right here is like one meal. Right, so that's like one meal. Yeah. All right, let me catch up with y'all in the comments here, rather than me just yammering on. Let's see. So yeah, I don't buy. I buy some foods weekly, but I don't get all of my groceries in one week though, because certain things last for a lot longer. I only start replacing things that I'm low on. When's the best time to have the protein shake? At night before bed. So one thing, so I'll put like if you're trying to like build muscle and all that type of stuff, one thing that's really good is to do um you do protein, like I do pea protein, just pea protein isolate, powdered peanuts, cinnamon or cacao powder for the antioxidants and the blood sugar control and all that type of stuff. Cinnamon is extremely good for blood pressure, blood sugar, adrenal health, blood flow, vital organ protection, liver health, kidney health. Cinnamon is amazing. So I'll put like 1 teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon in the smoothie. I put a quarter teaspoon of sea salt because sea salt is a training aid. So it's really good for like to get some really good solid muscular contractions, and it does contribute to your training performance. And then I put glutamine. I'll put like 10 grams of glutamine in there. Glutamine is really important for maintaining and rebuilding your gut lining. So for those of you who have digestive issues, gut health issues, where you have like a hyperpermeable gut, maybe you've got like a history of Crohn's, colitis, diverticulitis, leaky gut, right? Any kind of leaky gut issues, glutamine can be a really good supplement for you, right? So that's like something that I would definitely advise. And then creatine monohydrate. Creatine is it's a naturally forming molecule in your body, and it's made from like histamine, methionine, and I think cysteine. So your body makes it on its own, but you can supplement with it because vegans, especially raw vegans, are hyper responders to creatine because you don't eat meat, so you're not getting creatine from the meat. So it's a really good training aid. Also, like creatine is not just for like building muscle, but creatine also helps to improve blood sugar, insulin sensitivity, and protects against like brain metabolic issues. Like it protects against type 3 diabetes, right? Alzheimer's, right? So diabetes of the brain, right? Creatine protects against that. So yeah, creatine is phenomenal stuff. Creatine helps to preserve muscle also. So if you're trying to stave off any potential muscle loss, maybe from fasting or um, you're eating much less protein and you have a fear of losing muscle because you're eating less protein than normal, creatine can act as a buffer to reduce the loss of muscle. You won't really the only way you honestly you really lose muscle though is if you're not training or and you're underfed, meaning your carbs are low. If you want to preserve muscle, you increase your carbohydrates. Carbohydrate consumption signals your body to release insulin. Insulin is like a storage slash growth hormone, right? So you eat your fruit. Fruit increases a pathway called mTOR, right? And this triggers your body to grow new cells, right? So mTOR is really important for the process of building up your body, especially muscle tissue, right? mTOR stands for what is it? It's it's myosin targeted. I forgot what O stands for. No, it's mammalian targeted something rapamycin. What does the O stand for? I don't know, I'm blanking on it, but yeah, mTOR. That's what you call it mTOR, but it's a longer thing. So it's a biological process. Now, if you stimulate, like if you're eating a lot of protein and food all the time and all this type of stuff, and you're constantly stimulating mTOR, it does age you. So it's a double-edged sword. So you'll see for example, when you see people who like take anabolic steroids and they're consuming a lot of protein and whatnot, they look older, they get aged in the face, they have like all kind of lines and stuff in their face, they get like this Cro-Magnon look on their face, and it just look aged and like really red. Like who's a good example of this? Um Bobby Kennedy, right? Robert F. Kennedy, Jr. I think that's what his name is. He's like real red. He's an old man. He's jacked, and he's real red in the face, right? He's like he always looks like he's in the middle of kind of having a stroke, right? I'm not saying that because that's how he sounds, but it's like if you were to like hold your breath and create like you were to strain, your face kind of turns red. That's what he looks like all the time. But that redness comes from a lot of like animal product consumption, heavy protein diet, um, either steroids or testosterone therapy, like TRT or something like that, testosterone replacement therapy, and that type of thing, right? So these things they age you. So you can be jacked and gain more muscle and all of that, but you age out a lot quicker. This is also why like carnivorous animals, they don't live very long. They have pretty short lives. So carnivorous mammals in general, aside from like marine life, they don't live that long. Right. So it is a double-edged sword. Like you want to build muscle. Yeah, you can build muscle really quickly and build a lot of muscle, but it can age you. And it increases your chances where you'll just die of a heart attack out of nowhere at like 55 or something. Right. Uh-oh, what's going on with my camera? I got to remember to fix those settings because this thing started wigging out. Come on. Yeah, there we go. This is like one of those cameras that tracks your movements and it follows you around, but it doesn't do it very well. So it'll start zooming and zooming out and zooming in and zooming out and carrying on and getting just wigging out. And I don't really want that. All right, let me. I don't want to do that. Okay, let's read some of these comments here. Let's see. For someone who's been eating standard American diet who transferred over to raw vegan, what type of detox does the person go through? Yeah, it depends on the person, right? Like some people they go raw and they can have some wild like detox symptoms because like you just got a lot of stuff built up in you and then some people not so much. So like you have people they get like dryness, skin shedding. They may even experience like some brief hair shedding, right? So like in order for your body to start growing a new hair, the old hair dies and falls out. So you can experience more hair shedding followed by more hair growth, right? Um the shedding shouldn't be that prolonged. It's a pretty short term thing, or at least it should be. And you shouldn't just be losing like crazy handfuls of hair, right? But it is possible, right? So that's like a detox symptom. What else? It shows up a lot in your bowel movements. You may get some skin issues. Some people have had that. It's very rare though how people end up having like these different types of detox symptoms, right? It could show up like in the spit in your mouth. You may have some. Well, I don't know if it's that. It depends. It depends on how raw your diet is too. Like if you're just doing fruitarian only and you're just doing fruit, it's possible, but you shouldn't be getting like a really extreme detox symptoms. It's possible, but it's not that common. John Green, what's going on, brother? Gail, what's going on? What happened to you today? You got to check in with me. I'm not gonna blow you up here on the stream, but yeah, check in with me. Let's see. How long is it suggested to do alternate day fasting? Generally, yeah, my window is like 24 to 36 hours. 36 hours is like the most effective. In particular, if you're trying to maximize autophagy because you're trying to heal from some type of chronic illness, or you're trying to lose weight as quickly as possible, 36-hour fasts are extremely effective. 24 hours is a bit more sustainable. It's easy to do long term. Let's see. When you drop weight from high fruit, were you significantly leaner? Yeah, it shows up in my midsection like immediately. I just don't like being under 150 pounds. Yeah, so it's not just I'm like leaner, right? It shows up in my waist first. It'll start to show up in my face and whatnot too. Or just lighter on the scale. Yeah, no, it shows up in my waist measurements. That's the first place I see it. That's right. Like the stream if you like the stream. Oh, let me scroll up. So, like, I'll give you an example. So, for me, like, if I do, so for example, this whole week, if I just do predominantly fruit, my waist will drop down to like a 29, almost a 28. That'll be normally my waist is in between like around a 30, maybe 31, right? So if I do more raw, it'll be between 28 and 29. But my shoulder and chest measurement don't change, and my legs or my hip measurement doesn't change. Yeah, so the jars, like I have 16-ounce mason jars, 32 ounces, and 64 ounces. So, like for example, too. So I have these lentils, right? So this is like a half a cup of lentils. So I'm soaking this because I'm making my lady lentils. I make her lentil sauce. So what I do is I soak the lentils for around like 24 hours or so, and then I boil the lentils just so they can soften up. And then I'll throw in like nutritional yeast, curry powder, garlic, onion powder, cumin, um, like raw sugar canes a little bit, sea salt, what else? And parsley and curry powder. I think I said curry powder, but yeah. So and curry powder and cumin. I think I said cumin. It's a bunch of stuff. If I don't do parsley, I do thyme, but I have parsley right now. I ran out of time. So this is my time, right? And I buy it. I buy my herbs and whatnot in bulk. So I make teas out of it, like herbal teas and things like that. Um, So yeah, I do that. And so then I put it in the blender and I puree the lentils with the seasonings and everything like that and make it into a sauce. So you can pour it over like salads. You can pour it over kasha if you want, rice. You can pour it over whatever, potatoes, whatever the case. It's just curry sauce. But the only difference is like it's a carbohydrate rich, protein rich curry sauce. So that's essentially how I do with that. And I have like three different variations that I do. So I do like a cheesy veggie bouillon. Actually got that idea from Miss D. Big shout out to you in the chat. I do a curry one, and I could do like a mild curry or a spicy curry. The spicy curry, I'll add cayenne pepper. Um, and then I do like a pizza sauce, and that's with tomato sauce, taco seasoning, cumin, smoked paprika, sea salt, coconut sugar or brown sugar or agave. It's just a little bit, not too much, because you don't want it to be like too sweet. I'll also put garlic in there and basil, as well as cayenne pepper. Yo, it tastes like pizza, and I put nutritional yeast in there, and it tastes like pizza. Yo, it's insanely good. Oh my god, it's crack. So yeah, those are my three lentil sauces. I also make them out of chickpeas as well. It's just quick. The lentils cook quicker. So for the sake of time, I go for the lentils. What else do I have ready that's ready, that's ripe? Let me see. I think I'm gonna get this pineapple going here. Do you link do you link to bulk kasha and oats? Yeah, I do that. I have it in the tribe shop. Ooh. So I have it up. Brother, truth be told, what's going on, brother? How you doing? Why seeds and nuts at the end of the day versus in the morning? You could do it in the morning too. But like for example, if you're doing the fruits throughout the day, um, you either have like your fats in the morning or you have it at night. But that's like you don't have to do that, right? You can actually do like an ounce or so of nuts and seeds with each meal that you have, right? So that's one way to do it as well. But in particular, if you have your fats at the end of the day, it's more satiating, so you get like more of a fullness. Whereas with fruits, you can just keep eating and eating and eating, right? Um, which is really good for recovery. So like if you've been like really tired, kind of run down, you start eating fruits, your body's like, "Oh, give me more of that." It's not really like a sugar craving. It's your brain like, "Hey, give me more sugar," right? Because your brain primarily runs on sugar. So it's great for recovery. But your fats and whatnot, because if you just eat like all your fats and your proteins and then you go to bed at night, you're not really going to have blood sugar problems. So you have a nice, smooth, even blood sugar overnight. Sometimes, and this happens with diabetics that I work with, if it's just straight fruits throughout the day and they eat fruits before they go to bed, they wake up in the middle of the night kind of hungry if they underate during the day, right? So that doesn't necessarily happen, but it can, right? So like if you've been a diabetic and you're used to having really elevated blood sugar all the time, when you get on like that fruitarian style of eating, your blood sugar numbers improve very rapidly. I've had people where they had their blood sugar was like almost like 300, right? Even it would even hit above 300, like 313, 323, this type of stuff. And they go on like this fruit-based diet and it's just straight fruits, and their blood sugars dropped within like 3 weeks. Their blood sugar dropped down into like the 60s and woke them up in the middle of the night, right? So it would dip like a little bit, like 68 or 73 or something like that. So their blood sugar would drop really, really low, and they'd wake up in the middle of the night with the munchies and feeling like, oh my God, I feel like massive low blood sugar, right? Because it's a pretty significant change in your blood sugar, right? Because it improves insulin sensitivity really, really quickly. Now, to be fair, the ones that had the sharpest dip like that in their blood sugar, they were taking like some type of diabetic medication. They had to stop taking the medication because the medication was dropping their blood sugar too quickly. So like your diet can just straight up reverse your diabetes. If you take your diabetes medication with this kind of eating, you may get ambushed by the medications dropping your blood sugar too low, like into the 60s. You end up waking up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat, right? So things like that to consider. I haven't really had anybody have those issues though when they get all their fats in at night. But when you get your fats in at night, you get really good sleep quality because your fats, like your avocado, nuts, and seeds, they're very rich sources of magnesium and zinc and tryptophan, which are sleep aids, especially cashews, right? So cashews and avocado are like a sleep aid. They will improve your sleep quality. You're gonna show up my house for fruit? Can you save this live? I would like to come back for this information. Still can't find the one from last. Yeah, so basically what I've been doing with the streams is I've been actually been uploading the streams for members, for tribe members during the replays. And then I upload them to the YouTube channel later. So yeah, basically all the tribe members get first dibs on the live streams. Also, if you're on my email list, you get an email from me with this live stream in the email. So you can actually watch the replay of this live stream immediately after through that link that you got in the email. So definitely sign up for go into the link in the description of this video and get on my email list if you want to catch the replay. Because basically the reason why I stopped doing this, like stop having the live streams automatically be on the YouTube channel, is because like the first like 10 minutes or so is like me getting ready for the stream and whatnot. I don't actually start until 10 minutes after because I'm waiting for people to come in and all this type of stuff, rather than starting at like 6 or 7 o'clock on the dime. And that kind of hurts like the algorithm of the channel a little bit, and it reduces reach. So you got to play the game. So I'm going with a different strategy. How much starch is too much for one day? There's really no solid number. It depends on the person. It depends on your insulin sensitivity. It depends on how active you are in your lifestyle. It depends on a lot of different things. So it's not really a one size fits all thing. I haven't really calculated how much starch is either, because I usually calculate like total carbohydrates in a day. Oh, well, you said Gigi. You said I had a rough day. I had patients back to back. My staff called out. Oh, I got you. What's the best way to store fruit? I'm a truck driver who works 6 days on 4 days off. I work with a lot of truck drivers too. This is actually really good for truck drivers. Let's see. On my 4 days off, I only eat fruits, but it's hard to keep enough fruit for the 6 days I'm working. Yeah. So basically, it depends on the fruit, right? So for example, like these, you don't have to store these in any kind of cold or anything like that. Most fruits, you don't really need to store them in a cooler, right? It depends on what the temperature is inside the vehicle, right? But if you have like AC and whatnot, you should be fine. So yeah, most of your fruits you can just store them room temperature, or so it's fine. However, with fruits like this, like where they're cut, then you may want to keep them in like a cooler. So it depends. So you can get like Ziploc bags and pack all your fruit in like in a Ziploc bag. So for example, like what are these? These Ziploc bags are like 16-ounce Ziploc bags or something. And you can meal prep. This is meal prep. This can be like 2 meals in your day. And then you can bring like 2 pounds of bananas. So you can eat 2 pounds of bananas and then have the cantaloupe. And then you can bring like and bring one of these. And that's like that's pretty much all of your carbs for the day that you'll be covered for. Actually, no, close, not entirely. You would still need to add probably 50, 60 more grams of carbs. So So if you eat 2 pounds of bananas, like 32 ounces of bananas, that's like 200 something grams of carbs. 1 pound of grapes, that's 100. So that's 300. And then the 2 pounds of cantaloupe is, what is 2 pounds of cantaloupe? 2 pounds of cantaloupe, 32 ounces. I think yeah. So that's like 50, 60 grams of carbs, something like that. That's like around 50 grams of carbs. So 200, 100, that's 350, that's 350 grams of carbs. And then you can just snack on nuts and seeds and you're good, right? And then in a cooler, you can bring a smoothie, like a protein smoothie, or if you make juices at home with a juicer, you can store that in a smoothie also. Also, if you're a truck driver, so I have this here, right? So this right here is a portable blender. So I'll make my protein smoothies in this, or protein shakes in this. Really lightweight, easy to store, right? And this is, you really don't need anything necessarily bigger than this. You put your milk in first, or your water, whichever you mix it in, and then add the contents in. Put this on top. If y'all want me to add this to my store, I can do that as well. And then just double tap the button and it blends and it stops on its own. And that's it, right? And that should have you covered, right? So yeah, basically you do your fruits throughout the day, like basically in the sunniest portions of the day. So like morning and like early afternoon is where you cram in all your fruits and whatnot. And then towards the evening is where you have like an avocado and you have 4 to 6 ounces of like nuts and seeds or something like that while you're on the road. And you're good. That's it. All right. Also, another thing I want to talk about. So I don't buy I make my own pre-workouts, right? So guarana powder, right? So this is guarana powder. Guarana, Guarana, guarana powder. So this is just straight caffeine powder. And each scoop is a gram, basically. And 1 gram of guarana powder is what? 220 milligrams of caffeine. That's like 10 milligrams more caffeine than what you typically get in like an energy drink. Most energy drinks or protein shakes, it's like 210 milligrams per serving. That's like 220 milligrams of caffeine. So like when I make my own pre-workout drinks, if I do use a pre-workout drink, I make it myself. So I'll do like 6 grams or 9 grams of citrulline malate. I'll do 2 to 4 grams of taurine, 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C, basically 1 gram of vitamin C, and 1 gram of guarana powder, and 1 drop of liquid stevia. Phenomenal pre-workout, best one ever. So I don't buy pre-workouts anymore. You actually save money like that if you do it that way. The biggest problem with like energy drinks or pre-workout supplements is they're underdosed. They put a whole bunch of stuff in them and you really don't. Like they'll put in like citrulline, but they'll underdose it because they'll put like maybe 3 grams or 1 gram of citrulline malate. They'll put 1 gram of taurine. A minimum effective dose is like 2 grams. So basically they give you like half the dosage. Beta alanine, they may give you like 1 or 1.5 of beta alanine. Which is not necessarily underdosed, but you could do like 1.5 is like the bottom threshold, and you can go up to 3. So like it's just things like that, right? However, pre-workouts do have a substantial level of B vitamins, but you can get B complex, which is like a liquid B complex. So this one in particular, the NutriChamps one, and this is a significant source of B1, thymine. Thymine is really important for insulin sensitivity, blood sugar control, and fat metabolism. And then that has methylcobalamin, which is the most bioavailable version of B12. So if you need to get like, for example, if you need to reverse, by the way, if you want to reverse like anemia, like if you have an iron deficiency, a B complex that is rich in methylcobalamin. Methylcobalamin is a type of like B12 is cobalamin, and it'll be different types of cobalamin, right? That's methylcobalamin, which is like the most a bioavailable or absorbable version of it. So if you want to get your B12 levels up quick, that would be a way to go. And in order to increase like your hemoglobin or iron absorption, that type of thing, you increase your B12 levels. Some people they just have like an iron deficiency because they have like liver issues or chronic inflammation. If you have chronic inflammation and you've had chronic inflammation over a very prolonged period of time in your life, we're talking like 5, 10, maybe even 15 years, then your loss of iron is a result of just chronic inflammation on a very consistent basis. Like a lot of people who have like metabolic disorders like kidney disease, fatty liver disease, and diabetes often have anemia as a result of the chronic inflammation. So when you're chronically inflamed, iron gets depleted because iron is a very important alkalizing mineral, and your body deploys iron to neutralize acid, especially in your liver, because you store a lot of your iron in your liver. So that B complex definitely helps, and also getting more either dark leafy green vegetables, getting hemp seeds, pumpkin seed kernels, almonds, walnuts, kiwis, and grapes, right? Things like that in your diet is really good for helping getting those iron levels up. So if you want to increase iron, vitamin C, B12, copper, right? And like a real like a fruitarian style diet is really good for copper. Really copper rich diet. Let's see. I've heard creatine can make you look less lean in muscles and in the face due to intracellular water retention. No, so creatine drives water retention into muscle tissue. The only way you're going to look puffy and less lean is if you're storing more water inside your skin, right? And it's like kind of like a kind of like a form of edema, right? Like if you got some type of lymphatic swelling or something like that, right? Or some type of edema underneath your skin, maybe. But you actually look leaner with higher levels of creatine stored inside your muscle tissue. Because if you store more water and glucose inside your muscle tissue, that makes your muscles look larger and more toned. See, creatine don't make you look soft. Let's see. What's your thoughts on detoxing and lifting weights? I'm in good health and train every day, but I've been feeling called to do a full body detox. Yeah, so it depends on your levels of detoxification, right? So you can, it depends on what you're detoxing from. Like, are you detoxing liver and kidneys? Are you detoxing your gut? Are you trying to get rid of parasites and bad bacteria? Like, what are you trying to detox from? Right. But like, your body is always detoxing to some degree or another. It just depends on what you're trying to detox from, right? And how intense you want the detox to be. You can detox with like herbal teas, basil tea, burdock tea, nettle tea, this type of thing, right? You can detox with ginger tea. You can really be hitting the ginger, cinnamon tea, right? You can do a fruitarian style diet and you just flush your body with tons of water and vitamin C and antioxidants and whatnot and really empty out your colon because you may be trying to detox your colon. It depends on what you're trying to get rid of, right? So there's different levels of detoxification and there's different types of detoxification. The more intense ones, you may not want to train while you're doing them, right? For a variety of different complications. But again, it depends on what type you're doing, right? I think that if you're an athletic and in shape person, you can go through a detox and train at the same time, right? It just depends on how intense the detox is. For someone starting this on their own, what advice would you give them? I mean, in terms of what? Like, it's real vague, right? So, one thing I will say, and I did a stream about this actually, I did a Thursday night live for members. And I was talking about like an intuitive lifestyle, like intuitive eating or just intuitive lifestyle development, where let's say you're the type of person where you don't want to follow a diet plan, you don't want to have any guardrails, you kind of just want to live intuitively. A lot of people who want to do things on their own, they go the intuitive route, but the thing is you have to have a knowledge base to do that. You have to know your body well enough to do that. Some people they don't know their body well enough to do that. So they try to do it intuitively and it doesn't go well, right? So like how do you know that you're adequately fed and this type of thing? You can do like a hybridized version where you're not tracking calories and macros and things like that, but you're eyeballing your food and you have a specific time window that you eat certain things. So, for example, let's say every morning I drink 24 ounces or 16 ounces of a particular juice. Like, let's say I'm trying to really get my vitamin A levels up. So I'm juicing carrots in the morning with like cucumber or something, I don't know, or carrots and like apple, let's say. And I do that every morning, let's say hypothetically, right? And then I go and I do a workout or a walk. I do some cardio or something like that, and then afterwards I come back home and I do like my bananas, and then after the bananas I'll do a certain amount of mangoes, and then after that I'll do more berries and kiwis, and then after that it's apples, and then by the time I finish the apples, the sun's starting to go down, and that's when I have more of my fats and proteins, or I have more of like a starchier meal, that kind of thing, and then I go to bed at like 9:30. What that is, those are like lifestyle habits that you can deploy where you're not really counting anything. You just have a schedule where you do certain things, right? If you're going to do this on your own and you're going to start, rather than like counting things or getting really granular, you can start with just implementing certain lifestyle habits, right? And then just be really diligent about the lifestyle habits. But it only works if you stick to the lifestyle habits. If you don't have a schedule and you're just doing things on a whim, you're going to mess yourself up, right? Things may not really go that well for you, right? So there does have to be consistency, because consistency is the basis for adaptation. Is it bad to do almond, oat milk, etc.? That includes preservatives. Not really. I mean, it depends, right? Like, if you have some extensive gut health issues or something, maybe you may want to eliminate things like this. If you're having a negative reaction to a particular type of preservative or something like that. But generally speaking, plant-based milks are fine. What's the best milk? Oat, walnut, or almond? I haven't had walnut milk, so I don't know the nutrient profile. Almond milk is pretty empty a lot of the times, and it's very watery, so I'd probably have to go with oat milk. Yeah, I would have to go with the oat milk out of that. Let's see. I've heard creatine. Oh, I've read that already. Dedicated for life. What's going on? Good to see you. What protein do you use? Yeah, I use naked pea protein. I've been using that. I've been using that protein for like a decade now. Well, no, not a decade exactly, but almost pretty close. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, you can hit the link in the bio. Hit the link in the description of this video to book a call with me. That's right. Or join my 12-week mentorship. So all these streams that I do, they're up for members in the 12-week mentorship. Right. So, and then you get access to my high raw vegan nutrition guide, all my training plans, exclusive member streams, all that type of stuff. Right. So link to that is in the description. Thanks a lot for the tips. Really enjoy your content. Appreciate you. Appreciate you tuning in. How do you travel with so many dozens of supplements? I'm moving abroad soon and kind of obsessing over what to take with me. That's a good question. So there's not many supplements you need, quite honestly. Like if I was moving, I don't know if I'd really bring it. Like what? Maybe vitamin D. Well, I don't know. It depends on where I'm going. If I'm going somewhere that's closer to the equator, I'm not supplementing with vitamin D. I just spend more time outside. Um, I don't know if I would like if I couldn't get if I was going somewhere and I couldn't get my protein powder to a place I was going to, I wouldn't bother with the protein powder. I would just adjust my diet to get more of the necessary protein I may need, which is not much of an adjustment. So yeah, what and then also the supplements you're taking, it depends on why you're taking those supplements, right? Let's say you're trying to reverse a gut health issue, so you're taking glutamine. I'd bring that, but I'd bring like a small amount of it maybe, and then order a larger container where you are, depending on where you're going. But yeah, supplementation is beneficial, but not essential, right? So like citrulline and guarana powder, you don't really need all these things. They're just beneficial. That's all. But yeah, I mean, it depends on what supplements you're taking, why you're taking them, and all of that. So yeah, that's more of a longer conversation. What is kasha? Kasha is toasted buckwheat. I made milk from hemp seeds. Yeah, then it works. There's this machine. There's a machine that makes, I guess there's multiple ones actually, where you put like nuts and stuff in it, and I think you add water and makes nut milk. I think it's called like Nutter, like Nutr. That's what it's called. I was this close to getting one. How many grams of protein per day? Me personally, it's like 110. Let's see. Do I recommend taking moringa? I mean, moringa is great. It depends on why you're taking it, right? So, like, you could do you could do moringa tea from like moringa leaves. You can do moringa powder. You can add moringa to smoothies or juices, but it depends on why you're taking the moringa. Like, are you doing it for blood sugar control, blood pressure? Are you doing it for immune issues? Maybe you're trying to increase white blood cell count, or why are you doing it, right? So yeah, it's beneficial, right? Like the benefits of moringa is very similar to the benefits of cinnamon. So I would alternate between those. Moringa to me is like real nasty. It's super bitter. So I prefer, if I had to choose, I'd prefer um, either cinnamon tea or basil. I've been doing those band workouts that you post. Never realized how much resistance you could get with bands alone. Yeah, I'm telling you. I am telling you, the resistance bands are the real deal. Absolutely love them. So my current shape, because I don't have a gym membership. I don't have a gym membership. So I just train with body weight and resistance bands. I'm a pretty minimal person. My budget is mostly like food and probably like business related things. But yeah, not much. I keep it simple. Am I just working out 3 to 4 days a week? Yeah, what's interesting is last week I did an experiment. I trained every day from Sunday to Sunday. So I did Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right? So I did 8 days straight. I did it just to see, like, hey, would it improve my training performance? Would it increase muscle mass growth and all this type of stuff? Just to see, like, and how well I would recover from it. I recovered fine. So I can train every day and bang out the workouts. And it was real fun. It's not particularly that beneficial. I actually build strength better and faster with just training like 3 days a week. So yeah, like training every day, you can do it. It's not really necessary. In my experience, it doesn't really give you more of a return. Granted, it was only 8 days in a row, but for me, I'm a bit of a hyper responder for whatever reason. I don't know if that's a genetic thing or not. But yeah, so with recovery, so I generally, yeah, my whole thing is you train 3 days a week, maybe four, right? Four is like the upper limit. So 4 days a week would be like a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday kind of deal. And your recovery days are Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday, right? And then of course the 3 day training is like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, right? Um, but if you really want to maximize growth and training performance, having more recovery days than training days actually works out a bit better. Now, the interesting thing is when I did like the 8 days, I did Sunday to Sunday, it was all full body training, which interestingly enough takes a bit longer to recover from. One thing I do realize if I cut my carbs, it's harder to recover. I feel it the next day. So I don't do the carb cutting thing. My performance, body fat percentage, or muscle mass is way better on the high carb days, right? So if for whatever reason in a day my carbohydrates drop below 300 grams in that day, not really that good, not terrible, but not great. Vascularity is different, all this type of stuff. Brain function, everything is different. That's why I'm such a big proponent of like carbs, right? Having like a carb dominant diet. It really does make the difference. And then on the days where I get like 400 or 500 grams of carbs, I'll forget about it. Those days are phenomenal. Do you include honey in your diet? Is it's widely viewed as a superfood? Yeah, so I don't eat anything that comes from an animal. I only eat things that come from plants. Honey doesn't really come from plants, so I don't really eat plant. I don't really eat honey. To me, as far as what I know about honey, honey is largely food for bees. So I don't want to eat bees' food, right? Let the bees eat their food, and I eat mine. That's my whole thing, and it's more of an ideological approach. Like, you'll never hear me make, like, an argument against honey consumption on the merits of health, because there's not. As far as not I haven't seen any negatives or downsides to eating honey, right? So I would never make a health argument against honey. I just personally don't do it just because it doesn't fit with inside my ethical framework. Working out every day is possible using high reps, low sets. Not possible to work out every day with low. Yeah, so basically when I did the 8 days in a row, it was one set per exercise. So I only did so like one set pull-ups, one set push-ups, one set of split squats, one set on each leg, one set leg curls, one set bicep curls, one set triceps, one set of like dips, one set abs. So it's just one set per muscle group, per exercise. That high volume stuff, I'm not doing that. I haven't really seen any benefit from doing that. So yeah, increasing sets beyond 3 sets per exercise, and even 3 sets per exercise is high if you're doing more than like 4 or 5 exercises. So yeah, my workouts, I always try to keep them to like 20, 30 minutes. Yeah, I usually train fasted. I usually train on an empty stomach. Um, However, on the days that I was training every day, I was training in the middle of the day because that's just how my schedule shook out. Um, and being that I was training every day, my energy wasn't as on point in the mornings. My energy would increase after like my first or second meal or so, and that's particularly when I would train. But I usually train in a fasted state. Is there a benefit to training fasted? Yeah, like it may be easier for you to drop body fat if you train in a fasted state. So it's good for it, it has positive implications for metabolic health and fat metabolism. Also, like in a fasted state, this usually is going to be early in the morning. So if you have busy days and you don't want to like miss a training session, then if you bang out your training session first before you do anything else, that helps with staying on track with your training. So if you wake up and then you get straight to your training, that's a bit of a better way to stay on track with your training schedule. However, if I'm trying to gain weight and maximize muscle growth, I would train midday, not necessarily mornings. So I would eat and carb up, and then because I make sure my glycogen stores are adequately filled, and then I go and train because I want to maximize training performance. What do you think about CMOS? Have you tried it yourself and noticed a difference in energy? Yes, I have tried CMOS. Doesn't taste great, at least not what I had. What I had was like fish tank water. Did I notice an increase in energy? Maybe a little bit. Yeah, maybe a little bit. I don't think I did it for long enough though. I did it for maybe like a month or so. Marginal differences in my energy, very marginal differences. It wasn't like a world altering thing, like, oh my God, CMOS is amazing. I'm doing this forever. I didn't experience that personally. It'll be like that for other people, but I think like you won't really see much of a significant increase in your experience if you're already capped out. So, for example, if your diet is covering all of your nutrient needs, like it's exceeding all of your nutrient needs, and you add CMOS on top, you may not really see much of a difference because CMOS is not going to give you like super physiological responses, right? So if you're already getting an adequate amount of all of your essential nutrients and your minerals and everything like that, and then you add CMOS on top, you're not going to get much of a difference from that, right? Because that would imply like the CMOS is causing you to have a super physiological response, right? Let me know if that, I don't know if that makes sense the way that I explained that. So, so let me know if you understand what I just said. I'm saying it in my head and I'm like, I don't know if that sounds right. It makes sense in my head. When I say super physiological, I mean like way above your norm or what's naturally achievable biologically. I mean, can people with autoimmune disorders do an all fruit diet? Yes. There's very positive implications actually for people who have autoimmune disorders to go on like a fruit based diet. I've had people reverse lupus. I've had people reverse Hashimoto's. I've had people reverse PCOS. And I've had people reverse Crohn's. What else? There's other things I'm blanking on. Crohn's and colitis. Lupus is actually very common. I've had a lot of success with people who have lupus. Yeah, so reversing lupus, actually. I have the most experience with that. Guillain-Barré. Ooh, MS, multiple sclerosis. I've had a lot of success with MS, reversing MS through a high raw fruit-based diet. Absolutely. Trying to think if I'm missing anything. Yeah, I think that about covers it. So yeah. Anybody reverse type 1 diabetes? That's the one thing. I've had people reverse type 2 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes. So type 1, what you're asking about is a full reversal. I've had people make significant gains as far as reversing type 1 diabetes, but it's not a full reversal, right? People say, oh, like you can't reverse type 1 diabetes. I don't think that that's true. I just think it takes longer to reverse it. And the reason why is because if you have type 1 diabetes, that means that you do not have the insulin producing beta cells to sustain adequate levels of insulin secretion. However, you can gradually regain and build back up those insulin producing beta cells. Of course, you need adequate levels of vitamin D to do that, because your body needs to produce the necessary stem cells in order to convert those stem cells into those B cells in your pancreas. It's a very time intensive thing to go through, right? So that can take years. But you can significantly improve insulin sensitivity as a type 1 diabetic. So I've had people who are type 1 diabetics, um, and they were able to cut down on their insulin big time to the point where they need very small dosages of it, right? So yeah, you can decrease the amount of units you need to take pretty significantly. Does it look like medical medium's kitchen? Let's see. Thoughts on tofu, estrogen, and testosterone. Yeah, so basically, tofu doesn't really have any negative effects on testosterone or estrogen. Tofu contains phytoestrogen, not mammalian estrogen, right? In order to have negative effects on estrogen or testosterone, you would have to be intaking mammalian estrogen in order to change that hormonal balance. Phytoestrogen just doesn't really have any negative effects in that matter. It doesn't sway mammalian hormones. Um, Interestingly enough, though, eating tofu can actually help to improve testosterone levels or improve estrogen levels, but it does it by because tofu contains calcium, magnesium, manganese, iron, copper, zinc, all of these vital minerals that are needed to have adequate levels of these sex hormones. So tofu can actually be very beneficial, particularly for men. Women, it's a bit of a mixed bag because of food allergy issues. Some women have they have food sensitivities to soy, right? Um, where they may experience one of the things that I've heard the most is women who are trying to shrink fibroids. Like if you're a woman who's trying to shrink fibroids, you may want to avoid any type of soy because that could potentially feed fibroids, right? I don't think it's because of the phytoestrogen. I think it's the actual protein amount, though. It's a very protein rich food. So that can actually encourage more fibroid growth. I haven't necessarily seen the data on this. I mean, there is some epidemiological data on this, but it's a bit of a mixed bag. So I'm not quite sure, right? There's probably some things I haven't seen yet. But generally speaking, I would say that it's probably the most beneficial for men. In particular, soy, like tofu, is very good for building muscle mass. Also, there's levels to it, right? So, what is it? Tempeh, which is fermented soybeans. You may not do that well with tofu, but you maybe do a lot better with tempeh. So, when I make diet plans, I don't really particularly put tofu or any soy products in a woman's diet plan, but I would do it for men. Men have really positive responses to tofu. What's interesting too is the fact that people will say, "Oh, men should avoid tofu because it'll increase your estrogen, lower testosterone, give you man boobs, and all of this." But they never tell women who are trying to grow their butt and get thicker and be more curvy and grow bigger breasts. They never tell them to eat tofu. So it's and no one ever tells menopausal women to eat tofu because it'll raise it. I've never heard anybody say that. Like, oh, you man, if you're a woman who's menopausal, you should really, just start slamming the tofu, right, to get those estrogen levels up. No one ever says that. Well, not no one, but all the people you hear bashing tofu about, oh, it raises estrogen, they never tell women with low estrogen to eat tofu. I never hear them say that. At least I never hear it. Maybe y'all do. I don't know. But it's very interesting. Like that door doesn't seem to swing both ways. Is herpes curable? Yes, it is. A big shout out to Dr. Sabi. We need a Yaki Awaken collab ASAP. We'd love to hear you guys peer review each other's studies, so you can present the results to us, your audience. He has a different perspective about tofu. Yeah, I mean, well, I don't have the facilities to run my own studies. I don't have the money. I don't have the money and the funding to do that. You need capital, you need a research team, you need facilities. There's a lot that goes into running those kind of studies. I think if anybody's going to have the infrastructure to run studies on this type of thing, it would be him. So I would default to him on that. If he, I don't know if has he published studies on the effects of tofu on these hormones, because I would be very interested in reading those studies that he's published on that. So I don't know. He's a really intelligent guy. I don't necessarily subscribe to everything he says. Like he said some stuff, and I'm like, I don't know about all of that. Again, I need to see the data for it. So I mean, if he has studies that shows certain things, like if I had to think, like, what is something that he said that I'm like, that's ridiculous? He made some claims about like rice and quinoa and how like they weren't human foods or something like that. Or maybe he just said it about rice or quinoa. I'm not really quite sure. He has like a thing about whole grains, I think. And he said some stuff about it and about how like the chromosomes in the grains and all of that. I'm like, well, I don't know. I'm not really buying that. I need to see the statistical data on that. I'm a data-driven guy. If you can show me the data that shows, hey, you know, when people eat more, the more whole grains the population eats, they end up with these pathologies. Okay, I would need to see that data. He said spelt flour is gluten-free. Okay, I got you. Okay. All right. I mean, yeah, spelt is made from wheat, so I don't know how it would be gluten free. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I know, like, so for I've had people where they have a gluten allergy, but they eat kamut fine without any problems. So I mean, kamut is made from wheat, but it's a different type of wheat. It's like this ancient Egyptian grain wheat. So it may be like a different molecular structure to the protein composites of the kamut. I'm not really sure how that works. But yeah, you know. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. The seedless watermelon thing. Oh my God, people want to fight me to the death about that. Yeah, I mean, look, if you can get your fruits with seeds in the most naturalist way, sure, that would be ideal. But I'm not gonna cut watermelon out of my diet because like there's not enough black hard seeds in it. Like that's not a deal breaker for me. Yeah. Let's see. Any tips for a better gut health, faster metabolism and constipation? Yeah, implementing everything that I talked about on the stream so far. Yeah, we'd probably say that. Yeah. I mean, I've been talking about gut health and metabolism the whole stream pretty much, but yeah, so everything in the stream that I've been talking about would lead to those things. I eat mostly fruit, but I'm having trouble letting go of eggs and cheese. Are these truly unhealthy or just unethical for vegans? That's a great question. So my so the thing is my take on I'm not like really dogmatic on these things. So like I if I'm making a health argument, it'd be a health argument. If I'm making the ethical argument, it'd be an ethical argument. So, for example, honey is a great example. You'll never see me on my channel bashing honey. I don't do that because honey is very medicinal, antimicrobial, antifungal, antiviral, great source of energy. It's just medicinal, period. Tons of antioxidants, phenomenal, right? But doesn't fit in the ethical framework, right? Cheese, yeah. So cheese and eggs is a lot of saturated fat. If you wanted to induce insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes in a person, you can literally induce these pathologies with saturated fat, right? If you wanted to raise someone's cholesterol levels, like LDL cholesterol, and increase their risk of atherosclerosis, stroke, and heart attack, then basically you would just increase the eggs and cheese they eat, right? If you wanted to trigger an autoimmune disease in a person, you would primarily do that through dairy. Dairy is like a big trigger for people. Like most of the global population is lactose intolerant. If you wanted more gut inflammation, cheese, right? For the people who've come to me, and it's different a bit for raw dairy. People's gut health issues, they're able to reverse gut health issues with raw dairy. Some people, it does the opposite, it makes it worse. It depends on if you're lactose intolerant or not. Also, with the raw dairy, you have way more of a risk of getting harmful bacteria and whatnot from the raw dairy, right? So you run that risk. The risk of getting an infection from a harmful bacteria from raw dairy is actually real high. It's crazy high, right? Like it's like something upwards of like 700% or something. It's just crazy numbers. It's either 70 or 700, something like that. It's like real high, crazy numbers about bacterial contamination in raw milk. Cheese, it hacks your brain. Cheese, what is that? Cheese has an effect on your brain like an opioid. It's highly addictive. And cheese basically has like casinoids that hijack your brain, makes it addictive, right? And that's used to hook the baby to its mother. And cheese amplifies the casinoids, right? So it has like this opiate effect on your brain. It's highly addictive. So you keep eating the cheese, eating tons of cheese, and what happens is with cheese is just straight saturated fat and galactose, right? So the sugar that's in milk is referred to as galactose. This can cause you to have irritable bowel syndrome, colitis, Crohn's, acne, like crazy hormonal acne, excess estrogen, right? So like dairy and eggs and stuff is very high in mammalian estrogen. So there's that. So as far as growing moobs and all this type of stuff and having menstrual cycle issues, excessively heavy menstrual cycle and all these type of things, dairy and eggs. So there's all these like negative connotations, right? So generally speaking, I don't consider eggs and dairy or eggs and cheese to be health foods. There's way too much downside. Some people, they can eat cheese and eggs and whatnot, and it's not inherently problematic. It's just a risk factor, right? So I'm not going to say that like, oh, eggs is a horrible food. It's the worst thing you can eat. It's going to kill. I'm not going to fear monger about it. I'm not going to do that. But I will tell you about the risks of it. This is aside from my ethical biases or anything like that. You could be eating things that are worse than cheese. You could. However, eggs and cheese, problematic. I'm all about risk reduction and increasing your overall health outcomes. So yeah, cutting out eggs and cheese seems to be conducive to that according to the data and everything that we know about all these underlying gut health conditions. Cheese is a massive irritant to people who have gut health issues or metabolic issues, insulin sensitivity, and things like this. Even like keto advocates, right? And they eat all of this cheese and eggs and stuff like that, and they fear monger about like grapes. Like, oh, you can eat berries, but just a little tiny bit because it'll skyrocket your blood sugar. And it's like, well, the reason why you're saying that is because you've eaten yourself into like an insulin resistant diabetic state. It's nothing to do with the fruit. I can eat fruit all day and have phenomenal blood sugar, right? And my waistline is smaller than all of these keto advocates, and my shoulders are broader than theirs, right? So I don't have these blood sugar issues that they have. So I don't need to fear monger about fat. I don't need to fear monger about carbs, right? I don't really fear monger about macros. So protein, fats, carb. I don't really fear monger about any of these things. I'm all about food choice. So my takes on these things are a bit more nuanced, right? If you eat very minuscule or small amounts of eggs, is it that much of a risk factor? Probably not, because you don't eat enough of it for it to blow up on you, right? So, like, if you eat an egg or two a day, it may not really blow up your cholesterol levels, like your LDL, just in like the 200s. That may not really be the case. Eggs don't even really directly raise your cholesterol. You have a lot of people who will say eggs are bad, they raise your cholesterol. It's like, not really. There's an upper limit. So eggs will raise your cholesterol to a certain point and then it'll stop there. Even if you eat more eggs, it won't increase. But what happens is as you saturate your blood with saturated fat and protein, that saturated fat and protein will then be used to create more lipoproteins, and that increases your cholesterol. So it's an indirect thing. So it's a dose dependent thing. For me, I'm just like, look, if you're going to eat very small amounts of eggs, you might as well not even really eat eggs at all, right? If you're so like, oh, I just want to eat really small amounts, it's like, it's the same thing as if you would have asked me, hey, about once or twice a month, I have a shot of tequila. It's not great. Is it going to destroy your health once or twice a month? No, right? It's not enough of a dosage. However, if you need to mitigate it that much, you might as well just not drink it at all, right? Because if it's a thing that you feel you need to minimize, you're already admitting you should probably just cut it out anyway, right? So it's that. The nutrient profile for like eggs and cheese is for me, it's not worth the downsides. You can make better food choices. Ultimately, that's my take. I'll leave it there. Let's see. I used to be a massive cheese addict too. Oh my God, I feel you. I used to eat like 6 egg omelets with cheese like every day. And I had chronic headaches, joint pain. My waist got up to like a 33, even a 34. I got chubby. Okay. And my mom was looking at me crazy. Like, hey, you should figure out what your cholesterol is. You should do a blood test. Let me check your blood pressure. You feeling okay? How's your vision? She'd look at me kind of a little fearful. Like, you getting a little, you gaining some weight, you getting kind of I'm like, Mom, stop. But yeah, I mean, that look of concern, I'll never forget. Do I take multivitamins? No. I would only supplement with a vitamin that I'm deficient in. I wouldn't take like just vitamins that I'm not deficient in. Like I would supplement with certain things. Like for example, the only vitamin that I supplement with is vitamin D and the B complex. And I don't supplement with B complex because I'm deficient in it. That's not why I do it. I'll either take B complex on like a fasting day because I'm doing like a soft fast. Um, or I'll put it in a pre-workout because it's a training aid. And then vitamin D, especially like in the winter, right? Because I am a black man living in North America. So I need to be a lot closer to the equator and spend way more time under the sun. So as a countermeasure, I supplement with vitamin D. Oh, I notice whenever I eat cheese, I get an instant mucus response. Yeah, that's coming straight from your gut. Yeah, there you go. No, he's against spelt in all grains. Yeah. Yeah, here's the thing about like whole grains, something about like they don't match our chromosomes or something like that. Like I don't know. As far as I know, you don't eat food according to its chromosomes, right? Because it's not like the chromosomes of a plant. I don't know how relevant that is to like human beings, right? Like for me, like I wouldn't mate with an animal outside my species. right? Like my mating pool is pretty narrow. It's just human women, preferably the melanated kind, right? However, for food, it's a bit different, right? I don't expect every food that I eat to have the same chromosomal makeup. It's not really my thing. I haven't seen the evidence that shows why that's an important thing or something we should factor in. And also, there is no evidence that I've seen that human beings determined what was a good food choice or not by its chromosomal makeup, right? Like people don't choose their foods in their diet according to their chromosomes. So cutting out dairy significantly reduced my asthma symptoms. That's another thing, asthma, yeah, because of the mucus buildup in the lower esophagus and whatnot. Also, can potentially cause a constriction of the airway depending on how lactose intolerant you are, or if you have a dairy allergy. 3 years vegan and no dairy was the most significant result. Plus compassionate eating made spiritual practice much deeper. There you go. Spelt flakes are my cereal. All right, there you go. What's the ideal protein intake for building muscle? I've never done well on zero point 0.8 grams per pound per day. Too much? Yeah. So it's 1 to 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram of lean mass. That's the measurement that I go to for that. I'm trying to go plant based, but it's so expensive. Well, I mean, if you're getting all of them mock meats and Beyond Burgers and all of that, yeah, maybe. But the way them animal products is priced right now, I don't. The plant based diet is cheaper, at least in my experience. How has this diet improved your energy level and your mental health? Yeah, so mental health, big time improvements. I used to really struggle with depression, especially seasonal depression. Not really the case anymore. I used to struggle with chronic headaches. I would have headaches all the time. I have no headaches. I used to get frequent sinus infections and seasonal allergies. I don't get that anymore. Chronic joint pain. I used to get migraines. None of that anymore. I used to have gum issues, like oral health issues sometimes, where I would get inflammation in my gums and I would bleed my gums. Not really the case anymore, right? What else? My energy is pretty good. Sleep quality is really good. I sleep real deep. So yeah, it's just been all upside for me. Energy levels are very high too. Sometimes it can be hard to sleep as much due to the clean, healthy body. Grains and heavy foods help you sleep. Yeah, I mean, more satiating, savory foods definitely can help you sleep longer. Yeah, that is true. Like if I'm more raw, I don't sleep as long, but I don't need as much sleep if I'm more raw. That is true. Do I go to the doctor for regular blood checkups, etc.? Do I? No. I mean, if I felt like something wasn't right in my body and I need to get something my health checked out, sure. But with me firing on all cylinders, I don't know what I'm checking for. so, so yeah, no, I'm not going to a doctor unless I have a good reason for doing so. Can I gain significant muscle on a raw food diet? Depends on what you mean by significant. Um, I think that I think that you can gain anywhere from 1 to 2 pounds of lean muscle mass per month. Um, in your first, maybe second year of training. But it depends on how much you're eating, and it depends on how you're structuring your training. Does the fruitarian diet cause harm to teeth at all? At all? Does it cause harm to teeth? Some people complain about tooth sensitivity, but I'm not sure. Like, how would you mess up your teeth? It depends on like what fruits you ate. Like, let's say if you were just eating a ton of like, I don't know, citrus fruits and like really astringent fruits, and like you had some mineral deficiencies, like I don't know, maybe you lacked like magnesium and calcium in your diet, and you lacked like phosphorus in your diet. Um, and you combine that with like receding gums because you brush your teeth too frequently and too harshly, and you floss too aggressively, maybe. Like the fruit in and of itself is not really going to do it. It has to be like poor oral hygiene practices, mineral imbalances, and maybe just like a diet where you're eating too much of like harsh fruits. So like if you're going to eat like a real fruit-based diet where like most of your fruit intake is most of your food intake is fruit, it'd be a good idea to have more like more mild fruits as opposed to like let's say a ton of oranges and apples and things like that, right? So like pineapple is good, but you won't be eating pineapple all day, where it's just pineapples and oranges all day. You may not want to do that. But like honeydew, cantaloupe, mangoes, berries, papaya, bananas, things like that. Those are generally pretty good for your oral hygiene, right? I think also like if people have like sensitive teeth issues and whatnot, they may have like a bacterial imbalance in their gut, and it's causing to have more bad bacteria form in their mouth, and the bad bacteria eats at their gums and tooth enamel. So it could be more so about the bacterial makeup inside the gut and the mouth that's causing that issue, right? But I don't know if it's anything necessarily about the food choices. Where do you buy your fruit? Basically, a grocery store. So Fresh Time, Kroger, Aldi, Myers. That's what I've been doing. 3 to 5,000 calories a day of high raw vegan is about $60 to $70 a day where I am. Well, I mean, I'm not eating 3,000 to 5,000 calories from just fruit. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I don't know where you are. I mean, maybe where you are. Yeah, probably. Right. I would imagine food prices can vary from place to place. But yeah, $60 to $70 a day. I don't know about all that. That's a lot. Like, n- like the four honeydew, four cantaloupe, um, the kiwis, however many kiwis that is, the 4 pounds of grapes, and like some other stuff I got. All of that was like $60 and change, like $60 and change. And that's not like one day. So yeah, I'm not seeing anywhere near those prices. I don't get bronchitis anymore and no hot flashes. There we go. Big shout out to you. Dedicated for life. Any basic simple salad recommendations? Uh, I'm getting tired now. Yeah, it's getting up there on my bedtime. Salad recommendations. Um, my go-to is like tender leafy green vegetables, whether it be romaine, red butter lettuce, arugula, kale, and about like 5 to 7 ounces of leafy green vegetables, diced cucumber, bell pepper, red onion, with about like 3 to 4 ounces of nuts and seeds, and then season it with whatever kind of dressing you like. That's like an example, right? I like to do like a honey mustard, a spicy honey mustard with nutritional yeast, sea salt, spicy brown mustard, and agave. As I season it with that. Do I focus on organic or no? The fruits that I try to get most organic is the fruits where I eat the skin of the fruit. Foods you recommend that are good in calcium and iron. Tangerines are a really good source of iron. I mean, a good source of calcium. Kale, really good source of calcium. Almonds, really good source of calcium. And I think walnuts also a good source of calcium. What else? Those are some of my top ones there. Iron, pretty much everything. Grapes, blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, kiwis, your tender leafy green vegetables, really good source of iron. Hemp seeds, cashews, almonds, walnuts, pistachios, really good sources of iron. Yeah. Violet colored foods, really good source of calcium. I think beets also really good source of iron. Do you eat watermelon around this time of year, or do you? Yeah, we ain't getting no watermelon. I gotta wait till like summertime for that. Biased because I'm Lebanese, but on our farm we have fresh arugula, so we do so we do arugula, lemon, some salt, sumac. What is sumac? Tomatoes, white onion, and pomegranate seeds. What is Evo? Evo, optional. There's some things there. Look at that. You're dropping some game. Mushrooms. That's a good source of iron too. Iron and selenium and copper. Mushrooms also have calcium too. I don't know if they're a significant source of calcium, but they got it. Yeah, I'm currently out here in Ohio. Let's see. Good point. How many calories per day do you consume from fruits and veggies, and how many calories on average would you say you consume from other sources like whole grains, etc.? So with fruits, fruits is probably like around anywhere from 1600, somewhere around there, maybe 18. Leafy green vegetables is not much. So the rest would just be nuts and seeds. The nuts and seeds would be like another six, maybe 800 calories. Whole grains would be maybe another 500, 600, well, anywhere from like 3 to 600. Was it hard to transition from alternate day fasting to eating every day? Did you bloat or feel over full more often? No, actually, it wasn't. It was a pretty seamless transition. What city are you from? I'm from Brooklyn, Brooklyn, New York. What is a recommended pre-workout fruit to eat? So pre-workout fruit, kiwis. Kiwis is a great pre-workout fruit. It's not the only one. Watermelon is also a really good one. But yeah, kiwis. I'm a big fan of kiwis. Should you trust dried mushrooms? Dried mushrooms. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I got to think about that. I don't know. I don't, yeah. You mean like dehydrated mushroom? I don't know. I don't know. I personally wouldn't buy dehydrated mushrooms. Not because I don't really buy dehydrated anything unless it's like herbs, right? So yeah, I don't know. I don't know why you wouldn't necessarily buy dried mushrooms. I don't know. I don't have like a good reason. So I don't have like a strong answer on that. I've been eating mushrooms for the last 5 days. Yeah, I'm a big fan of, yo, by the way, mushrooms, right? Because people are like, oh, is it safe to eat raw mushrooms? It depends on the kind of mushroom. For the most part, edible mushrooms are fine to eat raw. I eat raw mushrooms, personally, and I haven't had any negative effects from it. But one thing you could do is you can put the mushrooms, so like you could dice up your mushrooms and then put them in the microwave for like 15, 30 seconds. And that's a way to like break down the fiber inside the mushrooms to make the nutrients inside the mushrooms more bioavailable. So yeah, nice little nutrient hack there. And apparently, according to the research, putting them in the microwave is better than cooking them on a stovetop. Is it healthy to air fry my mushrooms with some olive oil on them? I don't really fry foods much, particularly. Frying a food is not really that helpful. It's not, I mean, it tastes good. It's not the worst thing you can do, but generally speaking, frying something is not really going to be that beneficial. Well, it's not going to be like the healthiest way to do it. Not the worst necessarily in an air fryer, but you know. Why do you recommend to reduce mucus in the body mainly? What? Oh, what do you recommend to reduce mucus in the body? Sinus congestion. I mean, the short answer really is just to avoid whatever you notice causes you mucus, right? So there's that. So like there's some things that would cause you to have mucus issues and wouldn't really cause anybody else. Animal products are one of the primary drivers of mucus. Meat, dairy, eggs, those things cause mucus. Fried foods, that can be it can cause some mucusiness. Um, Dried, processed, industrialized food-like products, cookies, crackers, cakes, those things can cause mucus. So yeah, I would say to keep it water-rich and whole food as much as possible and find out what your food sensitivities or food allergies are. Are people getting enough vitamins from food? My doctor said we aren't, so we have to add supplements. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's true. Some people aren't getting enough nutrients from food, but it's not really because of the food itself. A lot of the times, it's because of people's gut health and because they're just not eating enough, right? So this is the most common in people who are trying to lose weight, right? They barely eat, so they may be missing a lot of nutrients as a result of that. So you can either add a supplement or you can eat more foods. But I don't think the supplementation is essential. I don't think that. The most common supplements that I've seen people need are vitamin D and B12. All right, folks. It's 9:30. It's time to turn in. Been on here for like 2 hours. Great stream tonight. I didn't even cut this pineapple. I'll do this tomorrow. But yeah, if y'all want me to do more streams like this in the kitchen, just hanging out, answering y'all questions and whatnot, we'll do that. And I will catch y'all on the next Monday Night Raw. So y'all take it easy.